Is Reiki witchcraft? Some people say it is, but everybody who has practiced Reiki, and I know many people who practice Reiki, definitely do not compare Reiki with witchcraft. Still, there are a few rituals in Reiki, from symbols and different methods for cleansing and protection. Doesn't it make it kind of close to this concept? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Vlad from ReikiScoop.com, and today we're going to talk about this very controversial subject, if Reiki is witchcraft. Before engaging deeper into the subject, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing so that other Reiki enthusiasts, practitioners, or even teachers might find content such as this one. That being said, let's move on. Before we continue, I want to drop a quick reminder for those of you drawn to Reiki symbols you haven't been attuned to. Maybe you felt curious or even connected to certain symbols, but hesitated because you thought you weren't ready or didn't have the right training. I used to think that way too. But over the years, I realized there's no such thing as perfect preparation. It's far more powerful to follow your intuition and let your curiosity lead the way. You can work with any symbol to some extent just by meditating on its shape and experimenting with it in daily life. By this, you begin to build a relationship with its energy. In fact, that's what I recommend even for the symbols you are attuned to, because true integration comes from experience, not just ceremony. That's why I created the Ultimate Reiki Symbols Guide, a practical resource with 65 Reiki symbols, their meanings, uses, and how to integrate them in your practice even without a formal attunement. This guide opens the door to deeper exploration and growth without waiting for the perfect moment. So, if you're ready to go beyond the standard 3 and start working with the symbols you truly resonate with, grab the digital copy on Reiki Scoop or the physical book on Amazon. Now, let's return to the video. Is Reiki witchcraft? Well, I had this a few times as an accusation that I practice or I teach this kind of things. Well, first of all, I'm teaching something that's not mine. I didn't create Reiki, I didn't invent Reiki, I didn't channel Reiki. Reiki was channeled a long time ago. I'm not going to go into the history of Reiki. You can look up Mikao Usui. I do have articles regarding the history of Reiki, but that's not the point. I guess we have to define how Reiki works a little bit and what is witchcraft. I'll start with the latter, although I'm tempted to start with Reiki, but I'll start with witchcraft. What is witchcraft? Well, in my definition at least, without searching on Google or just right off the bat, witchcraft, in my opinion, means an act of magic, a ritual, that involves certain negative or low vibrational elements to achieve something or to manipulate something or someone. So basically to achieve something. This is not about healing. This is not about activating some structure or healing a chakra or a person or helping someone to understand some of their emotional elements, imbalances, potential, spiritual potential. Usually when we say witchcraft is about achieving very specifically something which is mostly related to the material plane of existence or is related to a manipulation of someone through an act of magic, which means an act of magic means that you are engaging with unseen elements, untangible elements, energetic elements. And you are engaging with spiritual elements, entities. And you are engaging in a certain ritual that has energetic and spiritual components. That allows you to create this sequence of events which help you achieve that goal. Again, this is not about a healing process necessarily. There are a few healing methods through witchcraft. They are a bit forced. There are a few elements of activating some things, but the purpose of witchcraft is not necessarily that. Witchcraft is very pragmatic when it comes to this. It's about achieving something very specific, and it's mostly related to the material plane of existence, meaning, just to give a few examples, here in it's not exactly the Balkans, but in this part of the world, in Eastern Europe to be more precise, and the Balkans, witchcraft is a thing, and it's a real thing, and it's something that usually is meant for helping people love each other, not love each other, break up. It's used for binding people to certain elements, their spirits, their souls, which is obviously a great sin in Orthodox Christianity, and I do support that it's a sin. And I will explain why Reiki, I don't consider it to be a sin. I'll get to that in a minute, bear with me. So, it's a forced way against someone's free will of doing something when it's about manipulation, when it's about gaining something on a material plane of existence. That's why I mentioned the material plane, because you are doing something, even if you're using emotional, spiritual, energetic elements, you want to have an effect in the material plane of existence as fast as you can, using manipulation and using a method, a ritual that is against free will, especially for at least one person's free will. It's against the free will. So witchcraft has many elements, and I did mention those, and I would add the violation of free will, and is usually related to negative elements. Rarely is witchcraft related to beneficial elements. There are a few ways of doing beneficial elements, but that's magic. And when we get to magic is the whole concept. Witchcraft is a part of it. Magic, and I have to mention that as well, just a minute. I just want you to understand and be clear about the idea of witchcraft, at least from my experience, because we have it here in our countries. And I know they use plants, they use stones, they use many things that I don't think I can mention on YouTube, that are terrible, and they are not positive at all. Okay, so they are using it to achieve things that are grotesque sometimes, and the ways of doing those things are terrible and sketchy, to say the least. Grotesque would be the right word. I don't know how to describe them better, quote to quote better, which are actually very bad things and worse things, and I can't really mention all of them. My teacher, the main teacher that I had for Reiki, had studied all this. I learned many things. I learned how to protect, and I learned how to why not to do them. There's a lot of payment, spiritual, energetic, karmic, physical payment, financial payment even, if you engage in those things. Now, there are different types of witchcraft. There is the Wicca magic, for example, which I personally kind of like. I have not engaged, I have not practiced, I just read about it. It seems nice. It uses the elements of nature, but that's not I wouldn't call that exactly witchcraft. For us, at least in this part of the world, we see witchcraft very particular. Manipulation using negative elements and entities, and achieving a goal that manifests eventually in the material plane of existence through the manipulation and violation of free will, and through using negative elements and entities. I hope that's clear. Reiki is the complete opposite of that. But let me get to the magic part. Magic, when we say magic, some person does magic. Here we have a polarity. Well, a polarity exists because people do things the way they want to do. It doesn't have a polarity itself. People learned how to use even prayers for evil things. I'm sorry to say. Prayers from different religions which are meant to be beneficial. So people find a way. That's the point. But before going deeper, magic. Magic implies accessing unseen elements, energies, informations, and entities through certain rituals. And now I ask you, isn't a prayer a ritual? Isn't a prayer when you pray to an archangel? You have all the components. You pray to an unseen element, entity, and you ask for help or support in a certain endeavor. That's magic. That's an act of magic, but it's not bad. Magic is the way you choose how to use it. It's like universal energy. It's your decision on how to use it. Magic is neutral. Universal energy through Reiki is beneficial. I'll get into that in a minute, as I promised. Magic is neutral. It depends how you use it. A witchcraft ritual is also magic. A praying, lighting candles, as we do in Christianity. I do that. I go to masses. I went to many times, and I still go sometimes. Not as often as I did before, but I still go. Lighting a candle, writing the names of the people who are alive and asking the priest or the monk to pray for those. That's entire ritual. It's a Christian ritual, of course, but it's still a ritual nonetheless. Praying at night, at midnight, the most powerful prayer. At least this is how Christians see it. At midnight, at 0000. Praying then because the darkness is the strongest then, it's said. And according to your time zone, because that was a joke, okay, so what time zone should I pray? According to your time zone. So you pray in that moment. That's a ritual, but it's a beneficial ritual that brings something, brings light. You connect to angels, you connect to archangels, it brings light. Reiki is a practice. If you want to call it magic, you wouldn't be exactly wrong. But it's a beneficial practice. It uses and channels the universal life force energy, the light that you gain from a prayer, let's say, or from lighting a candle for someone that is dear for you. You're using and guiding and channeling that energy for your benefit or benefit of others. The symbols within Reiki are beneficial. I have not seen a person that practices Reiki that has ever thought about that this is something else that's negative. I've seen people that were considering it at one point something like, oh, it's anti-Christian. It's not anti-Christian. You have to define, or anti-religion, or religious, whatever. It doesn't matter the religion. You can be whatever religion you want to be. It doesn't matter. This way it will go against any religion. Any kind of act that goes with outside the books of religion will be an act of whatever it is, not good. Witchcraft or magic or whatever. It's exaggerated. Reiki meditation have been proved to work and help people. Certain meditations, even yoga, especially certain types of yoga have helped people. Doesn't mean that you have to go and renounce your beliefs for those kind of things. No, Reiki is not a religion. Yoga is not a religion. Meditation is not a religion. You don't pray to anybody. You just use either your energy or the universal life force energy, the downward current that I mention all the time, for channeling it towards helping yourself or others, or supporting someone or something, or manifesting your goals. It's as simple as that, and placing your body in a state of healing. It's a more efficient way because you are placing your palms on your body, and instead of praying, the praying has a more general concept. I use prayers all the time. They are extremely useful, at least in the way I use them. They're Christian prayers. They have nothing against Reiki. It's still light. And the light belongs to divinity. You can call it God or however you want to call divinity. In divinity exists entities. And guess what? Divinity exists much longer than we have ever thought about religions or things like that. It's ridiculous. Divinity manifests itself in different spectrums, different vibrations, and in different dimensions. And this is one of them, the physical one, the universe. It manifests in a certain way. And it's older than the concept of religions. That's a man-made concept. Let's be honest. And it's the scene that I mentioned in the beginning, because I promised I return to the idea, is when you affect a person without their consent. You influence a person without their consent. You violate their free will. And it's something that you're going to use that's not beneficial, it's negative. It has a negative connotation that what you're doing. Obviously, that's a sin. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but that's pretty common sense. Reiki doesn't do that. You can use Reiki against someone's free will. Oh, sure, that's your responsibility. But even then, the harm doesn't compare to what I mentioned before. Not even close. Even then, you're doing it maybe from a place of, oh, I want to help that person. Or even if you're not, if you really want to do something bad to that person, it's not going to be that damaging in any way, because Reiki itself is a positive and beneficial practice. It channels light, it channels universal energy. Each system channels a different vibration. The symbols are light. You can even don't use the symbols if you don't want to use the symbols because you feel something that's awkward from a religious perspective. That's okay. I understand that, no problem. You can use the cross if you're a Christian. Activate the cross. Place your palms. Isn't that a sin? Is that witchcraft? No. It is a ritual though. It is part of the category within magic rituals, let's say. But so is So our religious rituals can also be considered magical in a way, because they are using unseen elements, beneficial elements, but unseen ones, untangible ones from the energetic and spiritual planes of existence, which are spread over multiple dimensions. That's a longer story, not for today, because this video is getting longer than usual. So there's a difference when you have a negative intention and use negative elements for someone to manipulate or to violate their free will, compared to helping and support them. It's a very different thing. And I did say that you can use witchcraft for something good. Yes, but the elements within witchcraft most of the times are not beneficial. You can use Reiki for helping others. You can use meditation or praying for someone, fasting and praying for someone. It's extremely effective compared to that. When you say that we are practicing witchcraft, it's something negative, a negative thing. We don't do, as Reiki practitioners, me, you, and whoever is watching as a Reiki practitioner, we don't do that. And the practitioners that I engage with know exactly the difference and know that. So please don't confuse things. It's not. In the worst case scenario, you can consider it a bit of a magical ritual. But so if you do that, keep into account that most of the religious practices and rituals are also in the same way done. In a magical way, unseen elements, entities, beneficial ones in this case, and channeling an energy. That's a magical ritual. I don't like to use magical ritual because everybody, when they hear that, they think like, what, you're a wizard, Harry. It's like you're going to another realm, movies and books and stuff like that. We are using Reiki, channeling universal energy, which is absolutely beneficial and has a high vibration, and is for healing and helping and supporting and guiding. I hope that makes sense. If you want me to go deeper, support me just offering some comments. Maybe you want me to explain a certain subject more in detail, because perhaps I have not touched base with everything. I don't want to make these videos too long. I just want to explain things that are, well, about logical a little bit, and the perceivance of them should be logical, the way we perceive them. So those of you who say it's witchcraft, I respect your opinion, but I will not respond to the comments. I might even delete them because, I'm sorry, there's too much to explain. This video is for you in case you believed that. So I just don't want to confuse things. If you still believe it, I respect your opinion. Be at peace, and hopefully you will change your mind if possible. If not, I wish you all the best and peace and love and light. I wish you peace and love and light to everybody watching this. Blessings to you, and thank you for watching until the end. Consider liking, subscribing, and sharing so that other Reiki enthusiasts can find videos such as this one. Again, blessings to you. Thank you so much for being here until the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Before you go, there's one last thing I want to share to support your Reiki journey. If you feel alone in your practice, like no one understands this part of your life, this message is for you. Maybe you're the only one in your circle who practices Reiki. Maybe you miss the feeling of sharing energy experiences and growth with like-minded people. And without this connection, it's easy to feel isolated, lose motivation, and let the practice fade into the background of your life. That's why I created the 21 Reiki Challenge, a free program where we get to practice Reiki together for 21 days. You'll receive a lesson every day where you can follow along a complete self-treatment, ask questions, and rebuild your habits through guided support. Over 2,000 Reiki enthusiasts took on the challenge and reconnected both with universal life force energy and themselves. If you're tired of walking this path alone, click the link in the description below, sign up, and let's practice Reiki together. Join the 21 Reiki Challenge to foster spiritual growth alongside like-minded people just like you.